loss is a part of life. When we love, chances are those losses are going to create big holes in our hearts. Today, indeed, we are sharing in a remembrance service, an All Saints service, whatever works for you. We're going to pause and give thanks for those who are no longer physically present with us. Throughout history, we've tried to explain this after time. In every faith tradition, there is an explanation for after time. The Buddhist and the Hindu believe in something called samsara. Samsara is where all our previous incarnations of our being are then reincarnated into a new form of being. So it's a cycle of life that is without end. Oftentimes in the Jewish tradition, you will see eggs related to at times of death, and that egg is a reminder of the life cycle. For the Muslims, both Sunni and Shia believe that our good deeds in this life will yield us entry into paradise. In our text today, Jesus is doing the best to try to prepare his disciples for his death and his loss and his new way of being. He wants them to know that indeed he's creating a place where they will meet again. And he really does a pretty brilliant job at explaining this. It's in John 14 that he talks about it. Jesus says this to the disciples. First, he tries to comfort them. He says, "Let not your hearts be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. God's house has many rooms. If it were not so, would I have told you that I go and prepare a place for you? And when I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and will take you to myself, that where I am, you may be also. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives do I give to you." Then he says to them once again, "Let not your hearts be troubled, and neither let them be afraid." I think of this text often as a pastor when I'm dealing with someone who is terminally ill and spending time with their family. In all the years, more often than not, what I have experienced from people who are terminally ill is they're trying to find the right words for when they are gone so that their loved ones won't experience hurt and pain. They try to assure them that everything is going to be okay. In their absence, everything is going to be okay. For me, I think that's what true love looks like. Here I am about to lose my life, this person who is terminally ill, and all I can think about will be the pain of those I leave behind. I think that is exactly what Jesus is trying to do with his disciples. I think that is exactly what he's trying to do. Yet, for all of us, be you a disciple or be you a regular Joe like me, this thing called death doesn't happen till it happens, does it? We can prepare for a loss, but you don't actually experience the loss until it happens, until you are in the midst of the loss. With the people we love and lose, it's different every time, isn't it? But there is one thing that's the same. It's painful. Throughout history, we have tried to, again, explain this thing called death, not only with our faith, but with our arts as well. The music you have heard here today is music that sounds to me like it's a result of somebody who loves someone who's no longer present. You see it in images, in art as well, and then you also hear it in stories. In stories. Last year, as a pastor, actually it was this year, as a pastor, I had probably one of the greatest losses I've ever experienced in a community of faith. Caitlin Brooke Newrider, 4 years old, amazing little being. She's an amazing little being who was cared for by her grandfather, who had a little bit of a hearing problem. And so Caitlin talked really, really loud. In fact, you could hear Caitlin through different double sets of doors all the way from the parking lot, making her way inside. You always knew when Caitlin was in the building because she talked loudly. But she didn't only talk loudly, she sang loudly and she loved loudly. I can still remember hearing Caitlin in church. I think it was just 2 days before that Friday that she woke up not feeling well. Friday, she ended up in the hospital and was transferred to yet another hospital because of the seriousness of her condition. And then, on Valentine's Day, she died. As a pastor called to lead a community who has had these folks central to the community, whose Caitlin was in Sunday school every week, it was overwhelming. The loss was completely overwhelming, and I was absolutely numb. I have to tell you, I prayed in that moment like I never have before. And I said, you know, God, that spirit that Jesus says is left to us, well, it's time for that spirit to intercede, because quite frankly, I'm a little angry and I don't know how to deal with any of this. Well, guess what? That spirit did come. I didn't have any answers, nor did anybody else. That spirit came in the form of a community of faith that was willing to come together in the midst of pain and loss. We were willing to be present with one another in the midst of pain and loss. We made casserole upon casserole upon casserole to try to deal with our pain and our loss. For the New Ryder family and for Caitlin's big brother, Braden, I have to tell you, and for myself and all the community, the pain was intense, the loss all-encompassing, and the tragedy raw. Yet, somehow, the Spirit continued to intercede. Even in our pain and in our loss, it was very difficult to turn to the Bible. So my husband brought to me this book, this fable, and he said, you know, this might just be able to help. It was written by a lady named Doris Stickney after the death of a child in her neighborhood. And this is how she dealt with her grief and with her loss. And today, Sophie is going to read the story for us about water bugs and dragonflies. Friends, I don't know what the hereafter looks like. I don't know. I don't know if it's a house of many rooms. I don't know if you make this transition over and over again. I don't know if it's a cloud or an egg. I don't know. But what I do believe, and the faith that I have today, is that the love you share in this life will find its fullness in that eternity. That love is without end. And that it is that love that you'll truly understand in the great beyond this space. What we have to figure out how to do is to live in the meantime. In the meantime, we need to remember that all the love that was shared with us by those who have gone before us is indeed without end. And that love will continue to impact your life and this world in amazing ways. Today, we want you to focus on that love. Want you to focus on the love that you have for all that have gone before us. If maybe there is a little bit of not love left, try to find a way to get rid of that and let the light shine brighter. For the close of this service, we're going to invite all of you to participate in a time of memory. Margie and Troy are going to share a beautiful instrumental piece for us. And while they do that, you have candles on your table. We're going to invite you to light that candle and remember all your loved ones. And if you feel so inclined, we're going to invite you down these 2 aisles. Coming down, use the outside of the aisle. Coming back up, use the inside of the aisle. And then as you come down, put your candle right here. Perhaps you don't want to come down, no problem. But you want your candle down here, no problem. Just raise your hand like this and someone will come by and they will deliver your candle for you. For in the end, we'll remember that in this room, yes, there is loss, but there's a whole lot more love and love to come. We invite you all to participate in this service of love.